Hi, I'm Tim Newton from the Krannert School, joined today by Mark Kent. Mark is the CEO of Women's Healthcare in Evansville. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're not only visiting the school to talk to students, but you are a Krannert alum, a
That's
Purdue alum.
correct. That's
Talk
correct.
about your EMBA experience and what it meant to you.
Wow. Absolutely loved the experience. Krannert, not only from a value perspective, was it very valuable to me and my career, but the overall experience. There's a professor that I will never forget, and that's Bill Llewellyn. And I
You
always say,
will.
yes, yes. I will say that he sharpened all of us probably more and is probably more remarkable as a professor during my time here. The course and traveling abroad I thought was awesome. The interactions with others from other nationalities was great. Traveling to Europe was phenomenal with my classmates, and I'm still in very close contact with a good majority of them. Several of them I recently was in Holland and connected with a classmate and his wife and brand new baby girl, which was phenomenal. So it was a great experience and one I'll always cherish and never forget.
I mentioned that you're in healthcare management. You didn't start out on the management side, though. You started out really as a practitioner. You went to
Correct.
school for nursing.
Yeah.
So, why was it important? What did you need to get out of that experience with the EMBA?
Well, the EMBA afforded me greater understanding overall in management, and being a practitioner in healthcare is one thing, but I always wanted to be more of in administration, more of an executive, and so by having my MBA, I was able actually also to continue that climb, if you will. One from of touching the patient every single day to one to administering across many. And so that was my goal then. And Krannert was particularly instrumental in helping me achieve that goal. And so it's the time, the coursework, the structure worked very well with my schedule, which is a very, very busy and hectic schedule. But at the same time, the learning was instrumental into the foundation, especially within management, as to who I am today.
You are a well-traveled man. You
Very.
grew up, as I understand, in Chicago,
Hmm.
went to school, undergraduate in Southern California, and you've taken a lot of mission trips over your career. Why has that been important to you?
I was raised to believe that it's our responsibility to care for those that are less fortunate. Um, So to whom much is given, much is expected. And so that's the way I was raised. And so I still believe that today. And so with my success, or whatever you want to call it, I still give back. And so I have a foundation today, helped to build a school in Haiti, done lots of mission trips to Honduras and Guatemala and Jamaica. Um, that just I believe it rounds me and rounds a person. A deeply seated and rooted faith, and aside from that, just the belief that when you empower people, when you help them, it makes for a better community, a better society, and a better world.
You talk about the desire to help humanity. Probably one of the reasons you're in the healthcare business. The healthcare field these days has a lot of opportunities. It also has a lot of challenges.
Very.
As an administrator, what's the biggest challenge facing you in your everyday work today?
I would say getting patients to be more consumer focused of their health care. One of the things that I used to always say is we spend a lot of time poring over bills. For instance, when you take your car in and for a repair, you spend time scrutinizing that bill. And if the same issue reappears, you'll go back and you don't expect to pay because it should have been resolved the first time. Well, I want patients to feel that empowered and more consumer focused within their healthcare, such that if you're having the same issue, you should be poring over those bills and you should be challenging those practitioners to say, hey, this didn't happen before. And I think empowering patients to be more consumer focused and to take control of their health care and review the bills and their health care spending is what will help drive down the costs and unnecessary surgeries or procedures.
Without getting into any political discussions per se, there's a lot of regulation, a lot of paperwork. How do you wade through that on a daily basis?
That's hard. That's hard for every organization, period, because those are requirements, and requirements are requirements. However, being patient focused, and so one of the things that I state a lot with my employees is that we look at it from the consumer or the patient's point of view. And so things that are unnecessary, we get rid of. Things that are necessary, we make sure that we explain to them why it's necessary. But getting away from the paperwork is difficult. We've moved a lot of things online to become more of a green company, which is awesome. And we've also made it available online so that patients can do more at home in the leisure of their home prior to coming to the hospital or the medical center for their care.
You are also an author.
Yes.
How did that come about? Well, first of all, the book is called Wow Moments.
Yes.
What's it about, and why did you write it?
Yeah, well, I've always been asked about my success, and the questions have always been, well, how were you so successful? Owning two companies and selling them, and then rising through Humana very quickly. How did you do it? And so, wow moments are about, and I'm going to define it so that it helps to set the stage. And so a wow moment is going beyond the expectation. And so an example that I use in the book is I go to Starbucks, and I go to Starbucks every single day. And the expectation is that I'm going to get in line. The environment's going to be very welcoming and warming. I'm going to get to the line or get to the cashier, and they're going to take my order. They're going to get it correct. I'm going to pay. They're going to give me the correct change. I'm going to slide down, and I'm going to get an awesome, delicious drink. That's the expectation. A wow moment goes beyond that, and Starbucks looks to create those wow moments. And so part of what starts with them asking your name. Also, they train their employees to go beyond that by trying to get to know every single customer coming in. And so in my book, I use the example of Shirley. And so I go into Starbucks every single day. And one day she happened to say, "Are you a foodie?" I'm like, "Yes, I love food. All kinds of food." And the next day I come in, well, she's got an example from the paper of it's Miami Spice, which is like a dining magazine that's in Miami around all these different restaurants. And so she circles a restaurant or two and says, you really need to try these. These are great. I love them, etc. Well, it begins to set up this relationship. Through that relationship, over time, I'm going to fast forward here, I moved. And I moved to another beachside community, basically about 4 miles away. There's a Starbucks right next to me, not even a block away, that I could walk to. I got in my car every single day, and I drove 4 miles out of my way because I had a relationship with Shirley. Why? Because Shirley went above and beyond. She got to the wow with me. And so even after she had done those things and after our communications, she brought and elevated the experience of just purchasing coffee every single day to something else. And that created loyalty. I was very loyal to Shirley and that Starbucks, and I kept my dollars coming into that company. Well, that's the same premise that I've always brought to every company that I worked at, whether I owned it or was an employee there, and even today, is that a wow moment is not a focus on you, the business, but it's on them, the customer, and that experience. And so you can't get to a wow if you're just meeting an expectation. Again, the foundation is the expectation. The wow is beyond that. And that's what creates loyalty to your brand or your business.
As the CEO, then, how can you incorporate, what can you do with your employees to foster that kind of an environment within your company?
Great question. Also something I cover in the book too. And so what I've done consistently is we begin to map the touch points within an organization as to when we engage with a customer or a patient. And from there, we think about, well, what is the service expectation at this touch point? And then we think about how can we wow them past that? And that's the focus. From there, it actually goes also into HR, ensuring that we create a profile of the right type of employee with the right type of personality that can deliver it. And then we also have performance measures and metrics to ensure that we are hitting that. So there are customer or patient surveys. And we want them to identify the person that's helped them or not helped them, where we've had a service opportunity or a miss. Everything doesn't always go perfectly. but it's also about what I call service recovery. I had a friend who was on a Disney cruise ship, and he and his family had missed, they went to the breakfast where Mickey and Minnie and et cetera, all the characters would be. Well, the characters are only there, I guess, up until 8 o'clock. Well, they arrived at 8:15. And so they stand there with the hostess, and she says, I'm sorry, but the characters are already gone. You can still have breakfast. Well, you know, his son was just crestfallen, just very sad. And she noticed. Well, Disney empowers their employees, which is really awesome. So the next day, they get up. There's nothing she could do about it then. The next day, they wake up to Mickey and Minnie at their room door. They're on the cruise ship with breakfast. That's a wow moment.
Yeah.
Now, my friend tells everyone that story. And so, what are you going to be thinking about as a family considering your next cruise or your next vacation? More than likely Disney.
Disney.
What he has done every single year since then, and even though now his child is 15 years old, they're still on Disney vacations. So that, by focusing on wow moments, it does create the loyalty. And it doesn't always go perfectly, but it's also about service recovery. Empowering employees to think, and think quickly, around that, what you've mapped as your service input or the expectation, such that you're getting to the wow moment. So when something goes wrong, you're able to quickly recover. It may not be right then. It may be the next day or the next interaction.
Mark, I'm sure you're going to give our students a wow moment in the class today. We thank you for coming back.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Thanks for being back on campus.
Thank you.
For Mark Kent, I'm Tim Newton.